Soul family, what up? Thank you for being here with me today. Oh, what a glorious day it is when all of our patterns and all of the shit that we don't want to feel starts coming up, and then we reach for things that maybe don't serve us, but for some reason it just seems necessary right now. Just to dive right in, today we're going to talk about our patterns and the resurfacing of them and the process in which they actually get louder prior to them dying. So, if for some reason you've been running along and suddenly are feeling the urge to call your ex back or go for a drink with friends, which you probably haven't done in a long time, or maybe have another cigarette, even though you just quit like a few months ago, whatever it is that is coming up for you. One, you are not alone. That was two. But one, you are not alone. Two, before patterns die, they're going to get loudest. So that means that if something inside of you, I'll use an example as my reach for validation from my father, or maybe from my parents in general. Excuse me. I would reach externally, or I would feel like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go for a surf. And during the surf, I feel a lot of emotions because I had an accident surfing, and it's very tender, very tender and something that I need to nurture and be very soft as I ease myself back into it. And it was as if I couldn't, like, I felt the nudge in me. I felt like I was being, kind of guided in a way to go for a surf. I was like, okay, I feel like going for a surf, but I'm scared shitless. So I texted like a couple of my friends and was like, hey, will you come be an emotional support for me while I splash around? And nobody was available, and I couldn't find anyone. And then I almost texted someone who was very close to me, but kind of they've lost my trust. We'll just leave it there. They've lost my trust. And so I've created a boundary where I no longer have them in my life. But yesterday, when I was feeling very scared and fearful and just alone as I was moving through this tenderness, I almost reached out to this individual just to be like, hey, I know we haven't spoken in a while, blah, 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 but will you come help me? Because he was the person that I would normally go to in these scenarios, or, that I felt safe to hold space for me. And I felt that, and I recognize, like, in the moments when patterns are dying. So for me, I have a pattern of when I feel tender and vulnerable and maybe afraid or fearful, I will reach for external support, which isn't a bad thing. But the bad thing is when you start letting people in that did you harm or disrespected you, or that aren't good for you in some way, shape, or form. Because that means that there is something inside of you that needs to be held. And this is just an example for my experience. I felt like I needed to be held, and I almost let someone back in that wasn't worthy of holding that space, worthy of holding me safely. And not to say that people aren't worthy, but just in my life with my boundaries. And that tells me that this tenderness inside of me is in need of even deeper healing, even more love from myself, because me reaching outside of me externally to fix it, being like, ooh, I don't want to feel this way. If so-and-so were just here, like, I'd feel safer. If they were just here, I'd feel better. If I just had a drink, I'd feel more relaxed. If I just had a cigarette, I'd be fine. Whatever these are for you. For me, like weed too. I'm like, if I just had a doobie, I'll just smoke one and I'll be fine, And that can be helpful. There are medicines that can help us, herbs specifically, and people that can support us. But if there is something inside of us that is trying to move up and out, if there's an emotion that is trying, so for me, surfing, there was tenderness, there was fear, and perhaps a lot of pain and things that I associate to surfing. Like I felt like I had almost died during my incident, and so there's just so much fear and so much pain that needed to come up and out. And I was really being guided to go and do this alone, but I was trying to grab on to things outside of me. And so when we are being put through these life experiences where we need to move through them alone, and then we try and reach to our coping mechanisms in some way, shape, or form, life is going to show us where those aren't working anymore. Because the pattern that's trying to die is not going to die by reaching for the joint, by having the drink, by going to the guy or the girl, or escaping through whatever it is we escape through, being like, oh, let's just soften the blow. Like, no, there's no more softening. I think we've collectively come past the point of softening the blow, figuratively speaking. We are here at this point in time to ascend collectively, to move into a more advanced stage of life. As they say, we're moving into the stage of technology. I don't know why I used these, but if we're in a stage of technology and people are kind of freaking out about it, there also is a significance in there. And I'm going to just trail off to a side note because I feel like this is important to share, and it's something that I've been feeling so deeply. If we are moving through such a potent time and our humanness, we are so in our humanness, coming back to patterns. Like, patterns are loud. We can't run away from ourselves. Our coping mechanisms aren't working anymore, blah, blah, blah. And we're moving through this density as a collective on a global scale. The earth is elevating in frequency and it's ripping off everything that needs to go. And I think it's super powerful that we're in this age of technology. I keep doing this. I don't know why. It feels appropriate. I think it's significant and helpful because whatever we're moving through on individual levels within, as we're like moving up these grandiose scales and frequencies in life, I feel so deeply that technology is making things much, much easier for us in a way because we need this energy for much more significant things like transmuting darkness and transmuting patterns that have been in our generations, ancestral bloodlines, and eons, centuries before us, because we are now transmuting all of this pain. And so I think that's the power of being in this age of technology. I'm going to keep doing it because we need life to be a little bit easier in some ways, shapes, and forms in order for us to have the energy that we need to be the magical mother effing beings that we are, to transcend this pain that has been in us for centuries, that's been in our bloodlines for decades and eons and centuries and I don't know how many more e's. That this time in human history as human beings are now releasing. Like, we have such a wide spectrum of healers, and that's the only thing coming to me right now. Healers. I feel like we're all just healers in our own special ways. And whether that's through, one of my friends, she is a music producer. Two of my friends, actually, I have as music producers, and they are healers through their craft. And man, I get goosebumps just talking about it, like full body confirmation. And same with me. I feel so deeply that I can heal through my art of expression, sharing my YouTubes, sharing my tattoos, all the other things that I do around these parts, which I will share more in detail later. We're all healers, and it's like we've been, all of you, these beautiful sacred beings such as yourself watching this video right now. If you're here watching me, you are one of these people, I guarantee it. One of these sacred souls that has come to make grandiose impact. And whether that's in a way where people can see it or not, we are at a stage in human history where we are transmuting centuries, eons, I'm going to say it again, decades, bloodlines of pain and suffering. You think of where we're at, and just as like a side note, which is why if you're struggling and going back to old habits and old patterns and things are coming up for you that's like, what, I thought I got rid of you, why are you back? It has to come back up and get really, really loud before it dies. And so that's why things are seeming a little bit more like the gears are, I see like a train that's just like unlubricated, and it's like, chugging, trying to go. And that's because they're dying and they have to go. So it's really important for us to create space to grieve what is no longer serving us, and also recognize, like, okay, I feel like reaching for the bottle. Why? What is within me? Or, I feel like scrolling my Instagram for the next 4 hours. Why? What is within you that you do not want to feel, that you are avoiding, that perhaps doesn't feel so nice to sit with? So you reach for something else to feel or sit with. So you don't have to sit with yourself. You go and sit with the bottle, or you sit with the joint, or you sit with your Instagram, or your Facebook, or whatever social media tickles your fancy. We are all here. I can name 5 people off the top of my head that are close to me that are going through this significantly, including myself. And that's why it's super important at this time for us to say, focused, laser beam focus. What do you want? Why do you want it? And 10 reasons why you need to change it. A really fun practice that I've been doing recently is from my favorite mentor and life coach, Tony Robbins. If you haven't heard of him, go check him out. He saved my life in many ways, and continues to do so every freaking day. He I don't know if he designed this practice, but there's a practice that you can do where you can list something that you need to change in your life now. And for me, it was like, my diet's not being very good. I'm eating a lot of sugar, blah, blah, blah. And so I put this at the top of my little notepad and was like, change your diet. And then it was like 10 reasons why I must. And then go somewhere along the lines of 10 reasons. I'm forgetting it off the top of my head, but just that alone, if you are trying to make change in an area of your life, why the drinking needs to go, why the cigarettes, why the social media, why I need to actually deal with my shit, 10 reasons why. How is it going to make your life better? And how is it actually gradually making your life worse if you hang on to it? And so maybe coming back to patterns. If you hang on to this pattern that's reaching for the bottle or escaping yourself in some way, shape, or form, and you know it's not doing you good, start making a list of reasons why it's got to go and what life will be like without it. And that will create leverage in your life for you to be able to be a little bit stronger in your stance and making better decisions for yourself. And you can do this with all kinds of things, but that's just one practice that I very much enjoy as I'm moving through this depth of pattern reprogramming, you could say. And the fun thing about patterns is when they get louder and louder and louder and they're like, please don't let me die. And you're like, oh, I gotta do something about you. Like, reach for the bottle and just feed the pattern. Don't feed the pattern. That's the problem. That's how the pattern stays alive. It's pushing us to threshold, just like resistance training. When you lift weights, and again, when you lift weights, it's a gradual process. We don't just lift the weights and see that's totally fake. You don't just see it right away. You have to gradually push up against resistance and continue to lift heavier and heavier weights. That's the same thing with reprogramming our patterns, reprogramming our nervous system. And so if we've had this way in which that we've done life for 45 years, you bet your bum that it's going to take a little bit of pushing up against what or how you used to do things. And that's okay. But stay focused and remember why you must. Why must you push in opposition? Because that is how we are elevating right now as a human collective. Like, that is how we are being fully immersed in our growth processes. Whether you like it or not, we are here to grow. It is what we've come to do, our soul's evolution. Whatever your belief is, I guarantee you life was designed for us to grow. And so when shit starts coming up that you don't want to feel, sit with it. Sit with it. Don't do anything about it. Don't go for a run. Don't go for a walk. Don't have a drink. Don't, just let it exist, because what is coming up needs to die. If there's a pain inside of you, just like my extreme fear going into the ocean every single time I go in. Yesterday, I just went, I was like, I have to go. I just have to. And everything inside of me was like, this is not good. Don't do it. Like this. No, I don't have to. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. Even though there's a part of me talking myself into it. I'm like at war inside myself. And then I just get into the ocean and I just scream at the ocean. I'm just like, ah! And I just let it out, because there is stuff. You know, I could have just sat on my couch and smoked a doobie and been like, well, we'll do that another day. Well, I don't even want to think about it. But instead, choosing to go into the ocean and cry and scream and yell and splash and just have these moments where these emotions were allowed to exist. Let it go. It's letting the pain out. You know, I think that every tear that falls from these beautiful little eyes we have, every tear that falls is something leaving our nervous system that needs to go. So if you just need to cry, go. You know, it's like what we're resisting we need most. So if you're resisting the ocean, maybe you need to go for a little swimmy. And if you're resisting having that conversation with that difficult person, maybe you need to have the conversation. Or if you're resisting just a nap, we should probably go have a nap. You know, sometimes the things we are resisting are so minuscule. And in reality, you know, we think that's what we need to stay away from, but it's really what we need most. So I think that's where I'm going to close it today. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really, really hope that you got something from this, and that in some way, shape, or form, I was able to provide you with some value, some information that will help you today, this week, this beautiful new moon. I think it's a Cancer new moon. Whatever, wherever you are in the world and whatever you are doing, thank you for being here with me. And I really, really, really hope that this is going to help you. And with that said, have a blessed rest of your day. Mwah. Till next time, I will see you soon. Please don't forget to subscribe. It's totally free. Like, share, comment. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. Bye for now.